Good evening, everybody, and a warm welcome to Rushcliffe Borough Council's Cabinet meeting for October. I would like to remind everyone that the Cabinet meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. A recording of the meeting will be available afterwards on the Council's YouTube channel. In addition, under the Local Authorities Executive Arrangements, Meetings and Access to Information, England, Regulations 2012, other people may film, record, tweet or blog from this meeting. The use of any such images or sound recordings is not under the Council's control. I would like to welcome Opposition Group Leader Councillor Jen Walker, who will be asking a question, and members of the public who may be watching us on YouTube this evening. And I'd now like to move to the first item on the agenda. First of all, apologies for absence, Mrs. Tambini.
Apologies for absence have been received from the leader, Councillor Robinson.
Second item on the agenda, are there any declarations of interest? No declarations of interest made. The third item on the agenda is the minutes of the meeting of the 14th of September 2021, which I propose to adopt. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Brennan is seconding the minutes. All those in favour of the minutes? Thank you. Fourth item on the agenda is citizens' questions, and we have no citizens' questions tonight. So that brings us to the next item, opposition group leaders' questions. We have two questions that have been received, one from Councillor Walker, as I said, and one from Councillor Carys Thomas. Councillor Thomas is unable to attend the meeting, and I will read out her question on her behalf. So, Councillor Walker, if you'd like to ask your question. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to ask who are our registered, oh, sorry, it's my phone. Who are our registered partners and how is this decided, vetted, agreed? Thank you.
Councillor Brennan will answer your question.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. The terms social housing and registered provider are defined in the Housing and Regeneration Act 2008. Social housing for these purposes includes low-cost rentals such as affordable rent properties and low-cost home ownership. Registered providers include local authority landlords and private registered providers such as not-for-profit housing associations and some for-profit organisations. The largest registered provider in Rushcliffe is Metropolitan Thames Valley Housing, followed by Platform, which was formerly known as Waterloo, who are our key partner in the rural exception site schemes. Given their presence in the borough, the council tend to work with these registered providers the most. However, it can work with any. Importantly, any proposal put forward by a registered provider to deliver additional affordable homes is carefully considered, and a value for money test is undertaken before any capital grant allocation is made, in accordance with the council's scheme of delegation and policy and regulatory framework, including in accordance with the capital budget and the social and affordable homes policy. Registered providers of social housing in England are controlled by the regulator of social housing, and their functions are also set out in the 2008 Act.
Councillor Walker, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you. Yes, I was wondering how we decide whether they're a good match for our borough and whether we take in account their records and how dealing with communities, history of sustainability, and also when is it brought to full council to agree as well, please?
Sorry, there were several questions in there. So the first one was, it's done under this scheme of delegation. So it's done by senior officers under the scheme of delegation. That's how they're chosen. There's a due diligence and value for money process that they go through. There are only so many registered providers in the borough. So we could choose to work with others, but we choose to work with those that we have a track record and history with. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch the next bit.
Thank you. Yeah, just basically, do we kind of monitor their track record of working in communities?
Playing ping pong with the microphone. Sorry. I don't have the, I presume we do, but I'm not going to give you a categorical answer. I'll come back to you in writing on that proposal.
Councillor Walker, can I just say though, you did ask several questions in that supplementary question, and although I let it go, you should try and confine your question to one specific question. Thanks. Okay, I'll now read out Councillor Parish Thomas' question, and this is directed again at Councillor Brennan. The question is, given that paragraph 410 of the report details a number of options already available for spending the affordable housing capital budget to support the delivery of affordable housing, will the consultant's report help the council provide more affordable housing as soon as possible?
Thank you. Yes, the council has a strong track record in the delivery of affordable homes, and the purpose of the consultant's work will be to explore any additional tools or other options that we may wish to explore to further expand the routes to the delivery of affordable homes. This increase in funding offers us the opportunity for a more strategic response to local needs, and that's set out more clearly in the paper that's on the agenda later this evening.
Okay, Councillor Thomas has also submitted a supplementary question. When will the report come back to council to agree a course of action that will result in more affordable housing?
If the consultant recommends an additional option or options for the delivery of affordable homes should be pursued, this will be reported back to Cabinet for their consideration, and we're expecting the report to be delivered early in the new year.
Okay, thank you. We now come to the recommendations for this evening. The first one is the paper on the allocation of affordable housing capital budget update. Do I have a proposer for that motion? Recommendation, sorry. Councillor Brennan.
Thank you. Okay, well, I hope this paper is fairly straightforward and fairly self-explanatory. Our affordable housing capital budget supports the provision of additional affordable housing in the borough. It consists in part of commuted funds allocated in lieu of on-site affordable housing where local planning policies require it. We have received significant additional funds of 2.3 million just over, with a further 1.3 million just over expected next year from the Chapel Lane development in Bingham. The reasons for this are set out in paragraph 4.5 in the papers. Prior to this windfall, the budget stood at approximately 1.6 million and had been used for smaller scale interventions such as the garage site initiatives and the next steps rough sleeper units. With these significant additional sums, we can now consider some more ambitious options available to us to intervene at a more strategic level to support the delivery of affordable housing, and consider other issues such as retention or partnering, enabling the council to, for example, retain a stake in any funded assets. Given the sums involved, the recommendation is that we appoint a specialist consultant to examine the options. No assumptions are being made at present. This is a means to enable us to consider all the routes that might now be open to us. Therefore, I'd like to move that Cabinet supports the recommendation to appoint consultants to undertake this exercise for us at a cost of approximately 10,000 to examine our future options for the enhanced delivery of affordable homes in the borough. Thank you.
And do I have a seconder for that recommendation? Councillor Inglis.
Thank you. I concur with Councillor Brennan. That significant windfall excuse me, provides a greater potential for this council in the provision of more affordable homes, something that I hear regular pleas for from our residents. The report is self-explanatory, but confirms that a specialist area of work is required, and the council requires an independent and qualified consultant. And I'll quote from 4.4, so the council can consider more ambitious options. We do need to get people onto the property ladder without them having to move away from Rushcliffe or the area they work, where they're brought up in, or where the family homes are, especially in our rural villages where the property prices are now so high and out of reach of many first-time buyers, or most first-time buyers. This windfall will contribute to this council's strive in maximising delivery of affordable homes with the increased £5.4 million budget. So I have no hesitation in seconding the recommendation in section 9 of this report, and I look forward to seeing the conclusions from this consultative period. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Moore.
I think that's working, but you can probably hear me.
No, you'll have to.
Oh, thank you.
We can hear you, but YouTube
Okay.
can't.
Might not hear me on the screen. No, this is great. It's really good news. And I'm glad Councillor English talked about rural villages. I mean, in my ward alone in Cropper Bishop, a few years ago, we had, because of a friendly landowner, we were able to purchase some land and build 2 plots of 100% affordable homes, right, which I thought at the time was a real working model. Doesn't seem to have developed that much more for the future in a lot of areas, but I think maybe this, as you say, gives us some opportunity to be ambitious and think differently, not just a percentage of affordable homes on a development or anything like this, but taking on different types of schemes. So, you know, I wholeheartedly support the idea of an outside consultant just to give us a different outside view. So, yes, I wholeheartedly support the recommendation.
Thank you. So I'll now move the allocation of affordable housing capital budget update to a vote. So proposed by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Inglis. All those in favour? That's unanimous. The second recommendation on the agenda tonight is to do with Hitling Parish Council Neighbourhood Plan, and I will be proposing that recommendation. Hickling Neighbourhood Plan has been compiled by the Neighbourhood Plan Committee in Hickling. It's been sent forward to the inspector and it has now come back from the inspector. Normally at this stage, the inspector's report is a confirmation that the neighbourhood plan is fit for purpose and reaches the required standards to become adopted within the council's own local plan. Often at this stage, we would normally accept the inspector's report in its entirety or reject it, and then move straight to a referendum. In this particular instance, it is deemed that 2 of the inspector's recommendations, numbers 9 and 10, are not necessary to meet the basic conditions of the plan, and indeed stepped beyond what the neighbourhood plan had originally stated. Recommendations 9 and 10 refer to a current industrial site within Hickling, close to the canal basin. The business currently there wishes to relocate and has found suitable premises elsewhere. The neighbourhood plan in its original form accepts the redevelopment of this soon to become brownfield site in close proximity to the canal basin and is hoping that it will provide a mix of housing. The neighbourhood plan seeks to ensure that the development takes place on the brownfield site, and the parish council, working with our planning department, feel that the recommendations by the inspector could lead to some further development on a greenfield site. And this is the reason that they have asked us to follow this course on the recommendation. So I'm therefore proposing that we accept the following recommendation. And it's recommended that Cabinet accepts all of the examiner's recommended modifications to the Hickling Parish Neighbourhood Plan, with the exception of modifications 9 and 10. B, approves the Hickling Parish Neighbourhood Plan decision statement and its publication. C, agrees that 6 weeks consultation should be undertaken on the proposed decision not to accept modifications 9 and 10. And D, agrees not to proceed to referendum on the Hickling Parish Neighbourhood Plan at this time. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Moore.
I'm happy to second it. I think Councillor Edmonds explained it very well. It is slightly unusual for a neighbourhood plan, which we've seen several of these now come through, but following your explanation, Councillor Everdeen, I'm happy to second this proposal.
Thank you. Any other comments from anyone else? So I'll now take that to a vote. So proposed by Councillor Edvin, myself, and seconded by Councillor Moore. All those in favour of accepting the recommendations of the Hitling Parish Neighbourhood Plan. That's carried unanimously. That concludes tonight's business, and thank you all for attending, and safe journey home.